All right, everybody. Welcome in to episode 6 of Super Metroid Strat Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Kipp, and I believe True Moss is on the other line. True Moss, you there?
And I am your other host, True Moss.
What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Kipp?
I'm doing very well. And let me first start. I think we would be remiss if we did not make a really big deal about the update to our personal stats. You, I think, either yesterday or today got your very
last night.
Okay, got your very first 44. Good enough for 19th place in any percent, which is obviously the most competitive category there is in Super Metroid. So tell me a little bit about that, man. What was that like?
Well, I shaved a minute off my PB. I was at in new route. I was at a 45.50, and so I took a minute off. I'm finally back into a PB where I have like a lousy gravity suit time, which I love.
Nice.
I love having a crappy grav time because it feels so nice to be up at gravity. It was the interesting thing about it was like it's really hard to get your brain around being down by like 20 seconds at gravity,
Right.
Especially like at 45 there's not like a lot of time that you can make up, right?
Sure.
But I was down 25 almost 30 seconds at gravity, and so I took a minute and a half off the time from that point on. And so it just goes to show like don't stop your runs because of Fantoon. Even if you're getting into 45s, stick with it. And I had the hardest time like just not wanting to keep going if I was behind at Fantoon. There's so much time you can make up, right?
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. Obviously, a 44, I remember when I first started, 44 was kind of like the ultra elite threshold. So it's really cool to see you get there, and I know you've been working hard at it. I actually have a new any percent PB as well, but I don't have a really interesting story for it. I was just doing an SRL race, and I don't even run any percent anymore. And I even got a 4th E-Tank, which I don't normally do. I was just trying to like make sure I could finish the run. And I got a fast Fantoon, and then just somehow or another didn't make any major mistakes from there to the end and PB'd by like 14 seconds. So
hey, good for you, man.
Accidental PB. Maybe eventually I'll get a better time in any percent when I get to new route. But yeah, dude, that's cool that you got the 44. I noticed that you're about to start working on some RBO. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, before we get to that, this week when I was grinding down this 44, I was in one day. I had 2 runs that were like 30 seconds below PB, and I lost both of them to things that I've never had happen in the game before.
Really?
In the first one, I got clipped like on top of Kraid's ceiling. It actually looks like you're in the floor. And it never happened to me before. So I was like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? And I lost a whole bunch of supers because of that. And then the next run that I was like 30 seconds ahead after Dragon, I come back into Botch Wound, and Botch Wound's alive again because I left the room too quickly.
Oh, that stinks.
And it's weird because like, I mean, I've played this game a lot. I've never left Botch Wound that fast and survived Dragon. It's just amazing because like if you don't like, unless it happens to you, it's very possible that you just don't. I didn't even know that was a thing until I got there, and I was like, "How is Botch Wound back again?"
Right.
So it was a weird night.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations, and look forward to you doing some RBO. And I guess at this point we should transition into our guest interview, which we are very happy to have ElminsterRTA joining us this evening. Elm,
Absolutely.
are you there? Can you hear us?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
Not too much, Elm. First of all, obviously, thank you very much for taking the time to come on and speak with us. We're excited to have you here and, to learn more about you in terms of your experience speedrunning. So the first thing I need to point out before we get started is I've got, every time a guest comes on, I have a little sheet of their accomplishments, and we'll dive pretty far into those. You have really excellent times in all of the major categories in Super Metroid. On top of that, I know that you're well accomplished in other games, outside of Super Metroid, which is really hard. Like, usually when people have good times in Super Metroid, it's like almost the only thing they do. And you have a bunch of world records and stuff and all these hacks. But more importantly than that, I have to ask you, like, first question. This is an illustrious list of accomplishments, but I'm pretty confident that your greatest moment in Super Metroid history was when you knocked me out of the Rando tournament a few months ago. So I just wanted to get you, on record and just ask, like, how amazing did that feel, and what did you do to celebrate when that happened?
Let's see. I celebrated by having
It was so good you don't even remember. Is that pretty much what it was?
I used an extra pillow when I went to bed. That's how I celebrated.
Very nice. but as in general, since I did mention the Rando tournament, I will ask you a couple quick questions about that before we get into your times. You had a really great performance throughout that whole tournament. If I recall, I think you got 4th place. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you ran up against the buzzsaw that was the CFB, which many people ran up against the buzzsaw that was CFB. So, so in terms of randomizers, I mean, you're obviously very good and, you have a wide skill set in Super Metroid. Is there anything about randomizers in general that you kind of find appealing or fascinating? Like, and how does this one compare to other ones from other games?
Let's see. I love randomizers, to be honest. They bring to light a lot of the skills that you normally would not see used in the game. Just like little tidbits of knowledge, little random things that there's really no reason to know. So it makes use of a lot of that. So the randomizer for this tournament was like it was kind of specially made for the tournament. So
right.
It was totals. Totals one that separated major and minor items. So the major items, like the unique upgrades and the energy tanks, were in the majors pool. So if you went to a vanilla major location that had one of those, you knew it had either one of those unique items or an E-tank, and vice versa with the minor items.
Yeah, and so, don't you think, from my perspective, I would say that was a really good decision for the tournament format, because if it was like a true, just total item randomizer, it'd be, really crazy.
Now, see, I always wanted there to be a randomizer tournament. That was something I was always kind of pushing for, but at the time that I was saying that was when, before we had Totals Randomizer, we had Desirex's Randomizer, which randomized everything, and actually with the speedrunner difficulty setting, which was the most common setting, did for that was it actually removed a large number of the missile and super missile. It removed a large number of the ammo and the energy tanks from the game, so that as you were going around sort of checking 100% item locations, essentially you weren't getting overpowered. The game was still challenging.
Oh, I see.
But anything could be anywhere, and you had to route according to that. And there is a lot more luck involved with that compared to this. But when I found out that this item randomizer tournament was going to use this new major-minor separation, I was really not a fan of it. I was really sad because all this time I'd spent playing Desi's randomizer, I spent a huge amount of time playing it, an unhealthy amount of time playing it. It was the kind of, I guess, chaos comparatively that I really liked. But I got used to the logic in the new one, and also racing the A Link to the Past randomizer, which has hugely taken off. Races for that are super serious business now.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, not that you have to compare, but I mean, obviously you adjusted really well to the randomizer that we used for the tournament. And it's weird, I didn't even know about the previous forms of randomizers in SM because I didn't play one until after the tournament was announced. So how would you say, from maybe a macro point of view, because obviously in the Super Metroid randomizer you need to understand certain moves to be able to be successful depending on your item lineup or whatever. But how would you say the one for SM that was used in the tournament kind of compares to other ones? Like, do you think it's a good test of skill set, or is it kind of more generic, or what?
By other ones, do you mean like other games, or?
Yeah, like maybe even A Link to the Past, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. Even though I don't know much about it, I just know that it's like you said, very popular, and I've seen a few people do them. But I never like understand what's going on. Whereas the Super Metroid one seems pretty intuitive to me, actually.
Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and just relate it to that, because that is the other one that I have significant experience with. I haven't played too many others in depth. I did race a Chrono Trigger randomizer with some friends once, and 6 hours in, we weren't all too far in the game. So, yeah. So, the main differences between this one and the A Link to the Past randomizer are, for Super Metroid, you really need to know, advanced tricks to be able to complete the normal logic. Sometimes, like not the casual logic, but the normal logic.
Okay.
You need to know Lava Dive. You'll need to know the gate glitch in Pink Burn Star to get that energy tank location where the side hoppers are. And the logic will not force you to do high jumpless for that gate glitch, or high jumpless for the Lava Dive, for example. It won't force you to do intensely difficult things, but it will force you to do some moderately difficult things like those, or ice clip for either Botwoon or Spring Ball.
Sure.
Things like that. And the Spring Ball one certainly isn't common. That's a one item location.
Okay. Well, so let's get into kind of your history then. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you still talking? Because your mic cut out for a second. Elm, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe I think I might have interrupted you. Your mic cut out for a second, so were you still talking?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, keep going.
Might happen from time to time. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm not sure what part I cut off at, but main point of what I was saying is there are various things you do need to have a good grasp on. You need to know how to do Suitless Meridia,
right,
to some extent, for 10% of seeds. The A Link to the Past randomizer, the main logic for that is a no glitches logic. So the items will always be, it'll always be possible to play through the whole game without using any glitches, major or minor. Now, using some minor glitches can be beneficial, and there are things like dark rooms without the lamp, which if you don't have the lamp item, you'll be completely blind doing those. Those aren't in the logic, but it is allowed to do those in a race if it's advantageous, and often it is. So things like that you'll have to learn, but nothing as difficult to learn as Lava Dive, let's say.
Gotcha.
Or, crossing the moat, wreck ship, doing some short charges, shine sparks, things like that. A Link to the Past is very, very heavily about routing, especially since you get movement items like the flute, and you have the ability to save and quit, and these things let you teleport around the game, essentially.
Yeah.
So in Super Metroid, the randomizer, you check stuff based on an efficient overall route through the planet, but in A Link to the Past, when you have opportunities to just completely segment different sections of the world, it becomes a lot more important where you decide to go, because it's really more of your decision and not just, oh, I have to come back out of Norfair after leaving L-Line anyway, so I might as well check this. Like, in SM, it's a given, but in A Link to the Past, you have to make the choice.
Well, it's cool.
And that can decide races.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's cool that, you have to think about multiple different things depending on what game you're playing, and that's one thing I actually think is very impressive. Like, I remember before the Super Metroid Randomizer tournament, you were still doing other Legend of Zelda stuff or other games like tournaments and stuff, so you're obviously very involved in a lot of different games, and you know a lot about a lot of different games. So let me ask you first then about, speaking of other games but tying it to Super Metroid, what I've got on my screen is I literally could not even fit all of your records from all these ROM hacks and stuff. So I've got your 80%, 100%, low ice, and RBO times, which are all excellent. But then in addition, you have 3 world records in Legacy, 3 world records in Redesign. You have 1 world record in Project Base and other top times. And then I couldn't fit everything. I have 6 other current or previous world records in other games that are ROM hacks. Can you talk a little bit through some of your favorite ROM hacks, what draws you to them, why you feel sort of compelled to run them, stuff like that?
All right. I will kind of disclaim this by saying that a lot of obviously it's relatively easy to get a world record in a ROM hack that few people run compared to the actual game. But what I liked about them is just kind of diving into something that people haven't really messed with too much, and being able to apply your own knowledge of the SM engine in general, and taking the resources that you have with the hack and just coming up with the route, coming up with strats. It's a fun way to exercise those things.
Yeah, that seems really neat because obviously with Super Metroid, I mean, I'll just use myself as an example. I haven't really done anything new. I just watch what other people are doing and do the best I can to emulate what I think are the fastest strats. Whereas when you're doing one of these other ROM hacks, even if there's not that many people competing for the time, you're still pushing yourself to find the best strats, which I'm sure is very intellectually gratifying. Elm, you there? Uh-oh, I don't know if we completely lost him or not.
You're not.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
We still got him.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, we didn't hear any response to that. So what were you gonna say?
I didn't hear the end of what you said actually.
About
let's see.
I was just saying that it's probably pretty intellectually, satisfying and sort of stimulating to be figuring stuff out that nobody else has ever figured out before.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to just sit down and look at a map of one of these hacks and just be like, I wonder what a run of this would be like, or because you'll end up with different conditions. You'll end up with different item sets just based on how the hack is. So Legacy is a good example. Super Metroid Legacy, it's actually just called Metroid Legacy, but it's the oldest full hack, and it's from 2005, and it's very much a vanilla style.
Okay.
And a lot of it's about the same size as vanilla, same difficulty. It just has different rooms and slightly different progression. And it happens that the route that you take for any percent is very, very similar to the challenges you experience are very similar to what you do in vanilla any percent new route. So you do a sort of lava dive gravity jump type thing to get to Lower Norfair, and you fight Ridley as your second boss, and you have Ice Wave Spazer for that fight, and you never pick up Plasma, and you never pick up Space Jump. It's quite similar conditions. There are some differences here and there, but so that particular one, it was okay, it's neat to experience this kind of challenge based on the way that it's fastest to go through this game.
Yeah, so let me ask you this real quick, and then Moss, I'm going to toss it to you for a few questions.
Sure.
Hopefully this isn't a controversial question, but is there one hack in particular, not that you necessarily think is the best or whatever objectively, but just kind of was there any particular one that you had a lot of fun with a specific category? What was kind of your most, I guess favorite experience with any particular run in those ROM hacks?
I think the answer is pretty clear for me. It would be Redesign. Redesign is the one that I've by far spent the most time on, and done the most work for, cared the most about pushing the time down.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one who's I'm not the only one who's run most of these, but for the records that I still do have. I'm probably the one that ended up doing the most work.
Gotcha.
So redesign in particular. Let's see, where should I start with this? So it's a really iconic hack for those who aren't familiar. That I'm sure many are. It was from 2006. It was extremely ambitious for its time. It features the game world is over twice as large. It has extremely heavy physics, and the physics are designed so that you can't do most of the regular SM tech to break the game really easily. Like wall jumping is very restricted. Bomb jumping is very difficult to do, and you can't really do it diagonally. So there's all these restrictions and things that make the game harder. Like enemies, a lot of enemies aren't vulnerable to your normal beam anymore. Ammo management is hugely important. It's just a difficult hack, and it's unfair at times. But it was fun to go through it and take on a lot of the challenges that it posed. Personitis was the main one that expressed interest in running it at first. And he was talking for a while about, actually he and Metroid MST, aka Shaga Express, is a member of the hacking community that is known for his YouTube channel where he does Let's Plays of hacks and other things. The two of them had done a couple of redesign races prior to the time that I entered that community, so this is like 2014, maybe 2013. Joke, just like, hey, this is a really bad idea. This is a really terrible thing for us to spend our day on. Let's do this. And the times then were like 4, 5, 6 hours or so.
You still there? I think we might have Elm cut out a little bit from time to time. Elm, just let me know if you come back. Still a questionable idea. So, Trumoss, I'll let you answer the rest of this question. Tell me about your experience with redesign. I'm just kidding.
I am a vanilla all the way person.
Right.
At this point, I'm still so in love with vanilla. I just feel like it's like peeling back the layers once you start getting into hacks and redesigns. Like there's just, so many more things out there that you can do. And, to be honest, I love vanilla so much at this point. Let's see if,
I think Elm might be back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm back.
Okay, great.
Okay, so anyway,
actually,
continue.
Elm, I was interested to know, like, are you done with vanilla at this point, or are you still playing vanilla at all?
I play vanilla relatively rarely compared to most SM runners. I'm certainly not done with it, and I won't be done with it at any point in the near future.
Yeah.
But it's mostly something that's kind of like in the rotation to come back to after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot easier to it's kind of a lot easier to PB in it when I do come back usually, because I spend time kind of practicing like the same mechanics and just naturally improving over that, despite not running any of the vanilla categories at the time. Mm-hmm. So when I come back, I can kind of apply things that I've subconsciously learned to play better.
Sure.
And improve my PBs that way.
Well, obviously you seem to be really well versed in all the different hacks and whatnot. Is there is there one hack that you would recommend for someone who's maybe been speedrunning just vanilla, and like one that might particularly help improve their time, like one that is
improve your time. I don't know that I could recommend something for that, because it's like if you're taking time away from vanilla to play a hack, then you're kind of doing things that are more specific to that hack.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, of course, each one, like, there'll be different rules and slightly different physics and whatnot. But I'm kind of wondering, is there one that's sort of a specific, like a Kaizo sort of Super Metroid that, like, if you want to get good at all your fundamentals, this is the one to go and play?
I can't really say that there is. Yeah, so in terms of Kaizo, like the things you'd learn for Kaizo, there is a Kaizo hack, by the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, I believe, the original Kaizo hack for Super Metroid is TAS only. Lauren actually made some edits to that hack and called it Kaizo Possible. So that is a hack that can be beaten humanly, and I believe Matrick has the world record for that. It's about 6 hours. But the things that I believe the things you learn attempting to do that, they're not really conducive to improving speed. They're more really difficult technical, like sort of one-shot things to pull off, or abuse of some game mechanics. I'm not super familiar with it, so I may be wrong on some of these things, but maybe things like reserve tank abuse or something. I'm not sure, but it's like really weird things like that won't really help. So I'd say randomizers are actually probably a pretty good way to improve sort of general skill, probably more than any one hack.
Yeah, sure. Jangles kind of asked, it maybe a better wording is like, is there the best hack for a relative beginner to first try? Like, if someone who's not a beast of a Super Metroid player wants to just give a hack a try, is there one that you would recommend first?
First, let's see. So Legacy, as I mentioned, is very vanilla. It's pretty solid. It's not perfect, of course, but the difficulty is, about the same as vanilla. It's probably the closest you'll get to playing a different Super Metroid.
Okay.
Hyper Metroid is a good one. I'll just briefly talk a bit about the hack that it was. It's sort of a hack of a hack, if you will. The hack it's based on is called Project Base, and it was released by Grime, and he started working on it in 2010, and he's still working on it this day. It's receiving like updates every year or so. But essentially, it's hello?
Yeah, we're good.
We're still here.
Okay, so it's essentially minor map edits and a complete engine overhaul. So all the mechanics are changed. You keep your speed out of a spin jump. You can short charge the speed booster in much less space. Transport crash animation is shorter. Doors open faster. There's just a whole bunch of mechanical changes that make the game super fast and fluid. But the original Project Base that Grime made, it has the same map, and it's not really suited to the things that the engine modifications make easier. Like it's much easier to go through it fast because of the changes. So Hyper Metroid, which is so the hack's called Project Base because Grime intended it to be used as a base for other ROM hacks to build off of, like use that engine to create your own world with it. So Hyper Metroid was the first like full hack that was made with it. And the guy who made it, Real Red, he did an excellent job of tailoring and balancing the difficulty and the size of the game world to the new things you can do in Project Base. So it's not super easy. It's more like vanilla difficulty. You're a bit more powered up with these new abilities, but the game world's balanced so that it doesn't make the game easy to have those abilities, but you use them like they help you in a reasonable way. Let's just say that.
Cool.
Sure.
Hyper's a good one.
So wait a minute. Now I couldn't list all of them. obviously, because there were just so many. But Hyper, I think you had some records on that one. What are your records on that one?
So Hyper is kind of a funny story. It came out in 2015, and a few of us were theorizing routes for it, like right when it came out. And the only run that I have recorded of that, or it's not even recorded, I don't have a video of it, which is why I haven't listed it. That video is gone. But the only run I did was a 134, and it was in a race with the hat creator, Real Red.
Huh.
Yeah, we actually we raced it maybe a week after it came out. A few of us theorized some routes. I picked a route that I liked. Wasn't sure if it was the fastest, but I did that route, and I got a 134. He won the race. He knew all the ins and outs of the hack. He had so much more knowledge, obviously, because he made the thing.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And had all these strat ideas down already. And he's not a speedrunner, but just like his advantage of knowing helped him win. But so funny thing is, he plays on ZSNES. It's just the emulator he prefers. So his time that he set in that race, I don't remember what it was. It was like 129 maybe. Not technically valid because of that. So technically, even though I lost the race, I had the world record.
That's funny.
That is funny.
And then the people who beat that in the coming weeks were Effie, who has great times in vanilla, like a 45 any percent, 120, 100%. Doesn't run anymore. It was from a few years back. Fuzda had the record at 1.2. Zost also had the record at one point. He was playing that for a little bit, but he never saved a video of his run.
So speaking of some of the stuff you're talking about vanilla, let's transition and talk about vanilla for a little bit. So first of all, like, you know, I kind of talk about this every week. Like, so far, pretty much every guest we've had on has extensive knowledge of Super Metroid. They're not just like an 80% runner or something like that. Like, they actually have good quality times in all different categories. Do you have a favorite category in vanilla in terms of just the one you have the most fun running or the one you think is the coolest?
For me, it's a difficult toss-up between low percent and RBO.
Yeah.
Those two categories are actually I submitted those, and along with Rando to I signed up for those for the two relays that we had last year.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to run something like of that caliber. I haven't put a large amount of effort into any percent or 100% like comparatively to other people. Any percent, like probably the most time I've put into the game was at 8% because I ran that exclusively until I had like a good foundation to start or interest to start doing other stuff.
Sure.
But it's like really the bread and butter and the kind of thing that everyone does. And like you can go on Twitch at most hours of the day and you'll probably find someone running Super Metroid 90%.
Yeah.
So it's not something that it's not something I put much time into. Not too interested anymore myself. It's like the same old thing, and it's not something I feel like I can contribute to a whole lot.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's do a little bit of history on you. Before we wrap things up. So can you tell us how, number one, you got into speedrunning in general, and also like, what other games you speedrun, even at any kind of level that you've spent time on, and then also how did you specifically get into Super Metroid? So start with your sort of how'd you get into speedrunning, and then transition into how did you get into Super Metroid specifically?
Okay, well, oh boy, so growing up, I was always kind of interested in challenge gaming, like
Let's see. We'll get there. I think he's back. Yeah, Elm, you back?
Hello. Okay.
Okay, so you were interested in challenge gaming. You can start from there.
Yeah. So, is kind of what I was interested in too. In 2007, I was reading game FAQs guides, and I found out from that and browsing the forums that you could beat Metroid Prime with a percentage of 22%, and this skips 7 major upgrades that the game intends you to get normally. And there are all these like really super cool tricks I didn't know about that let you do that. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I have to do this now. I tried to do it. I got stuck. I could not do it. I could not do a couple of the really hard tricks needed to skip the boost ball, which was the latest item that had been found to be skippable. So I started over, and I did 23% instead without that skip.
Okay.
And so I was 13 at the time.
Wow, that's very impressive.
And I saw speedrunning like related to that. Because the same people posted about speedruns, but I wasn't too interested in that because I was like, oh, well, like, there's no, like, objective limit. Like, you do a speedrun, how do you know when it's, like, good enough? You can always do better. It seems like just an endless hole that sucks you in. I'm not interested in that. So, 2009, I discover, hey, Zelda Ocarina of Time has a bunch of these same glitches. I thought I did the, like, low percent in that by doing a 3-heart run. But it turns out there's all these glitches I didn't know about. So I start asking around about like how to do some of these because I want to figure this out. I want to figure out how to do low percent in that. And I get ZFG, actually, well-known Ocarina of Time runner. He gave me a link to Zelda speedruns. So I joined that community with the intent to just learn these glitches and figure out how to complete a low percent run. And that was all I was really interested in. But they did this thing every month called an impromptu speedrun, where somebody would create a custom goal that was just interesting, something interesting like, collect all fairy rewards, or buy all the bomb chews in the bomb chew shop, or something like that, something kind of silly. But the point of it is that it made you route on the fly, and you had to like test your game knowledge. You didn't know what the goal was going in. You only found it at the start of the race.
Sure.
So it's like who can stand up to the test the best. So they did this every month, and they realized that doing this, like doing a speed run of something random at the same time as another person to compete, was really fun, and they couldn't just do it only once a month. So they started doing it more regularly. Then they started doing it with like actual categories like any percent and 100% a couple times, things like that. And it was so much fun, I just got sucked into it. Despite not intending to speedrun, I ended up doing just that because of this community racing type thing. And so what happened later in 2010 was they ended up setting up a bot in the Zelda IRC that could actually like automatically track these races because they were done so often. And then some Mario 64 forum people found out about the site, and they started coming over because a couple of the admins got into Mario 64 and they started racing it. And soon the Zelda channel was completely overtaken with Mario 64 people, and we were like, okay, this can't happen. This is like not okay. We have to like separate this somehow. And so they tried separating it into a Mario channel, but that didn't work because some people wanted to race other games. So they're like, okay, what if we just create one separate IRC channel that's just for races, and we keep all that in there, and we keep the Zelda here, and we keep the Mario here. And so that was the birth of Speedruns Live. That was how that came to be.
Neat.
Oh, so you were like right at the front line of the beginning of SRL, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I was very heavily into Ocarina of Time. I think I DC'd it. Okay, I think I'm back. Hello?
Yeah, no, you're good, man.
Okay, yeah. So I was heavily into Ocarina of Time back then, kind of in the same way that I am into SM now. Like, kind of like the same. I was that person that had a lot of this random knowledge that didn't really go into a specific category, and just kind of did odd things. And I think probably thing I'm most proud about from when I was running Ocarina of Time is I was the first person to complete an RTA run. So I was the first person to complete a low percent MST run. MST is Medallion Stone Trials, and it's like the all dungeons category plus Ganon's Castle Trials, essentially.
Okay.
So that was like a category that was theorized. It had some extremely difficult tricks in it due to the fact you had to skip the Goron tunic, which protected you from heat, and you only had 3 hearts, so you were on a very like short heat timer because of that. You actually had to skip the hook shot, which is like almost essential to doing everything in that game, by doing a glitch called hovering, which there's a glitch where you can stick in the middle of the air if you take damage to your shield. And you use this a lot with explosives, bombs, and bomb chews. You have to skip the bomb bag because bombs and the bomb bag, as the capacity for it, counted as 2 items, whereas the bomb chew, the running sort of bomb, didn't need a bag, so it only counted as 1 item. So you had to use bomb chews for everything, which bomb chews are kind of like weird. They don't, you can't pick them up and throw them. They're weird to handle, so it's like this weird category that has a ton of difficult stuff. And I was the first person to actually ever complete it. It was 27 items at the time. I think now it's like 21 or something. I haven't done it since then, so I don't actually have a current run of it. But I was the first one to complete an RTA run of it as well, which ended up being like 6 hours or so.
Awesome.
And now it's like down to 3.5 with like a ton of new developments and a ton of people who are better at the game. But I was the first person to like make that category be like an RTA viable thing. So,
so basically, you have a rich history of speedrunning and doing all kinds of crazy categories in different games, which is probably why having a full range of skills in SM is pretty natural, I guess.
Yeah, it was like probably kind of always the way that I was going to end up if I get into a particular game. And I think this is why I gravitate towards games that have like these really like rich, diverse amount of categories and possibilities and large communities, because they have the most potential for this kind of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Metroid Fusion, for example, it doesn't have too much of that. It's very linear. There's only 3 real categories, any 100% low.
Right.
Just as a contrasting example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as for how I got into Super Metroid, I like to race. Some of my favorite childhood games on SRL as well, even if I wasn't very good at them. And Super Mario World and Super Metroid were probably the best examples of these at the time, like around 2010. And actually, the first race I did of Super Metroid was with. So I also had picked up Zelda: A Link to the Past around this time. I think I had a top 15 time back then because there weren't nearly as many runners as there are now. And I kind of did similar stuff with that game as far as like weird glitch stuff went, but anyways, there was a guy in the community who'd been around since 2005. His name's Vorpaledge, and he's known mostly for running Rocket Knight Adventures and Super Meat Boy and some other things. But I used to talk to him a lot back then, and he was learning A Link to the Past at the time. Hello?
Yeah. We still got you. Go ahead.
Okay. He had a pretty good grasp on Super Metroid already, and he was learning A Link to the Past. He was actually the AGDQ 2011 runner of Super Metroid.
Huh.
But anyways, I was better at him than A Link to the Past at the time, because he was still learning, and I kind of convinced him to do a race with me, just because it was what I was playing at the time. And so we did a race, and then a couple months later, he was like, "Okay, I raced A Link to the Past with you. Now you have to race me in Super Metroid." And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So this is my first race of Super Metroid, late 2010. And funny thing is, GT code had just been discovered. And because nobody was actively running Super Metroid for records, because Hotarubi's 2008 run was just so strong and untouchable, there's no like real need for like an immediate ruling on GT code or anything like that, because no one was like gunning for the record or anything.
Right.
So in this race, I used GT code, because it wasn't actually banned yet.
Well, quote unquote, any percent, right?
Yeah. So I got a 3.5 hour time, and I didn't go to GT early. I didn't know how to do anything in the game. I followed a pretty natural route, so I went like all the way to getting Varia Gravity, beating Dragon, getting Space Jump, and then going down to Lower Warfare and being like, "Oh, well, my energy and my missiles aren't very good right now, so I'm going to use GT code." So from then on, I raced Super Metroid with some of the regular racers at the time, just to hang out with them and just for fun. I wasn't very good. My best time from around then was a 103 any percent. The people that raced it commonly at the time were like Garrison, MSDS 3170, Lenifis, Desirect. A couple of them are still around today. Card Weaver. It's just that kind of crowd. But I was never too serious about SM. I picked up Mario 64 in 2013, and I ran that game for like pretty much a year and a half straight, and grew to hate it. And then like kind of end of 2014, I was like, okay, I never got sub 1 hour in SM any percent, but I'm getting burnt out on these other games, and I think I should probably give it a shot. And I wasn't actually intending to stay at Super Metroid for too long. I got my sub hour pretty quickly when I actually started trying and learning proper strategies. I got a 59, 58, eventually like down to 55 or so. And then I remembered, hey, back in 2008, there was this video I saw on YouTube about this ROM hack called Super Metroid Redesign. And so this, the video I saw featured like the Hell Run, the forced Hell Run you have to do to beat the game. And I was like, this looks really cool, but I'd have to play it on emulator, and I can't play on keyboard. Like, I don't know how to play it on keyboard, so I just never played it. But in 2014, when I ran Super Metroid, I was just like, hey, I have a modded Wii, and I bet you could use that to run this like modified version of the game. So I tried it, and it worked, and I was like, oh, you can run. Okay, you can run this. I can actually play it after 6 years of not being able to play it.
Yeah.
I can actually play this thing that was mildly interesting to me. And I was so engrossed in it. It is a terrible first hack to play, like as your first, if you don't have prior experience. So I wouldn't recommend it. I recommend people who are skilled play it eventually, because it's very historically significant, and it's quite challenging. But it took me in so much, and when I found out there were other hacks as well, and I went to the Metroid Construction website and started hanging out with that community, I was like, I had so much to play. I played this stuff for weeks straight, and that eventually gave me the idea to run some of these. The first hack I tried to run was actually Eris 2012, which I soon realized.
All right, let's give him a second. I think.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, he's all right. You're good. Keep
going. He said, "I soon realized" was the last thing we heard.
Oh, okay. You see, got all that. So I soon realized after doing 2 runs of that that I did not have the skills capable to survive actually doing a speedrun of that game. But the cool thing about Eris in particular is it had a bunch of strats already found for it to skip certain things. There was like this crazy shrine spark to do to skip high jump, and there was this there was actually an underwater like ball boost off in a veer that you could do very early game to get your first super missiles without killing Spore Spawn. And that saved a significant amount of time, but it's risky because you have one energy tank at the time, no suits. The Veer does 100 damage, so it's basically a one-try trick. If you miss it, you die. But so the person that found these strategies was actually Vorpal. So this was kind of a sort of funny full circle thing. When I found his old videos, and I was just like, I feel like using these to do a run because no one's actually done a run of this. And I did do a couple runs, but it was just too difficult, and I was like, I need to get better first. I never actually went back to running Eris. Nobody else ever ran it, so I have an uncontested record, which is really bad. But that was the first hack that I picked up running, and eventually I moved on to like Legacy and Redesign and a couple of these other ones. Some of the other hacks I run, Ice Metal, Oxide, and Z Factor. Those three. I had a bit of a rivalry with another person in the community named Diceron. He was interested at the time. He's moved on to running the Prime series. He doesn't really do anything SM anymore, but it was cool to actually have someone to compete that with for a brief time running those. And eventually Fuzda came in. He's a huge fan of Z Factor in particular, and him being a much better runner than I am, he just like completely swept the times in those hacks. And I did have a little bit of a back and forth with him last year in 90%, but he's definitely a lot more capable than I am.
Well, having any kind of back and forth with Fuzda has got to be pretty good, because Fuzda's a very, very skilled Super Metroid player. So, Elm, before we're pretty much running out of time on the interview portion. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Before we let you go, let me just ask you one final thing. You're in the upcoming Super Metroid tournament. That's the multi-category tournament, correct?
Yes, I am.
Well, good luck to you in that. I hope that I get a chance to play you again so that you can experience once again the great thrill of defeating me.
We'll see about that. I mean, you got your times down in like all of vanilla categories. I think below where mine are at. And you definitely put way more time into vanilla than I do.
Well, I was going to say, in all fairness, the only way that I've been able to eclipse any of your times is because you're busy running like 18 games and I'm only running one. So I think the skill set for your ability is very high in a lot of different games.
Well, thank you.
All right, man. Well, we will catch you later. Thank you so much. Once again, feel free to hang out in the chat if you like. There was a lot of people that asked some questions, so you can feel free to talk to them. And we'll catch you next time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, dude. See you. Okay, so Moss, I will call you right back here in just a second, and we'll get started on the strat stuff.
Great, let's do it.
All right, so once again, big, huge thank you to ElminsterRTA. I know I made some jokes about racing him in the Rando tournament and then coming up and whatnot, but obviously...
Yo!
Hey, what's up, Moss? So obviously, I just want to kind of say as he leaves that ElminsterRTA is a name that every single person in the Super Metroid community knows, and it carries a lot of weight and a lot of respect. So we really appreciate the fact that he came on and hung out with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let me get squared away here and make sure I've got everything pulled up for... I'm sorry, hold on. Let me make sure I got everything pulled up for Moss. All right, looking good. All right, so at this point, we are going to jump into the strat portion of the night. For anybody who's not, familiar with the way the show works, basically what we wanted to do is we want to have an interview, with top runners and get to know them, and then secondly, we want to go through a bunch of strats to try to help people out. Right now, you can see I've got my times and True Moss's times for vanilla categories and the 4 major categories and our placements. We kind of just show those just to, as a reminder to everybody that like, both of us have a decent amount of experience in different categories and have pretty competitive times. So, we want to really try to help as many people as possible. A lot of times I think we try to gear a lot of what we're saying to newer players, but Moss will also cover some advanced strats that can definitely help, mid to upper tier players as well. So, Moss, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you kind of start the process of talking a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. And after that, we'll kind of go back and forth, just discussing a few things. So
Terrific.
let me. So I'm also going to turn it to you for just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. So last week we started doing health and ammo management in old any percent, so KPDR. So we're now we got up to Dragon, and so we're gonna just essentially continue that that topic. We're gonna talk about just health and ammo management, Dragon through to the end. In my opinion, most of the biggest health and ammo management stuff is kind of past us at this point. There are a few things you have to worry about, but I think the bigger issues for health and ammo management are getting up to Dragon or getting up to the gauntlet where you're fighting Botchwu and Dragon. Do you agree with that, Kipp? That we're kind of like, we're not out of the woods with ammo management and health management, but it's a lot easier to deal with from this point on.
I would say definitely you're correct. The only sort of addendum I would make would be, especially for like newer players, understanding what you need going into Lower Norfair, but more importantly, once you arrive in Torian and adjusting on the fly, I think is incredibly important. A lot of times, like I can't even tell you how many times I've seen runners that are more not even just purely new, but especially newer players, but even some players that have been playing for a while that don't fully grasp like an understanding of the numbers in Torian that you need and how to adjust on the fly to different drop situations. So I think that'll be probably the most important thing we cover.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's we talked about this a little bit last time, but I've got a little a thing up on my screen about enemies that essentially guarantee drops for supers and power bombs. So if you look at for supers, you have cack attacks, mini crades, and pow amps. They have like 100 or almost 100, like 99% chance of dropping a super. Most of these are not going to be the biggest one, of course, is the cack attacks. You're going to go through an area called Cack Attack Alley that if you're low on supers, you're just going to fill up all your supers through that area. So if you're in trouble with supers at this point, it's not a big deal. There's going to be a lot of cacks coming up, and then there's a lot of enemies that drop power bombs with 100% or 99% chance. They're all listed there. Some of these we're gonna pass on the way, and so generally at this point, I'm not incredibly concerned about either supers or power bombs, but we'll talk about places where you're gonna get these and ways that you can, have some safety strats and things like that. So, well, let's just start right here where potentially you might have a blue suit. This is like sort of roughly what you might have in terms of ammo at this point. I kind of put down to I'm at 0 supers. So assuming that you used your last supers to get through the doors to get to Dragon, you probably would have less power bombs than this at this point, but we don't. We'll just say that this is okay. Your missile count, you're probably not going to really. Missiles are never really an issue at this point onward. Like, you're probably going to be fine on missiles, and you can be very blasé with how much you use missiles for the next bunch of rooms. Okay, so do you want to start off, Kipp, or should I just start tackling it a little bit?
Yeah, I can start off, and you can kind of get in position. I'm going to go ahead and take it from where you are.
Yeah. Can you still hear me, Kipp?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I can hear you through Discord, but not through. I guess maybe you're not coming through your. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so I'll just start doing it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't. For some reason, my mic is completely missing in the thing, which has never happened before. I'll fix it in a minute. But
Okay,
go ahead.
sure. All right, so in old route, you're probably gonna grab a lot of drops. You're probably gonna grab all these drops. So most likely, you're gonna be pretty good on health and ammo coming through here. The way I like to do this farm, there's a lot of ways you can do it, but if you have blue suit, you can't run. You can only move slowly. So what I actually like to do is when the little baby dragons are converging inwards, when they're about to touch each other, I do a full jump right there, and then I boost off of the lower turret, and that pretty much times it perfectly. So once they're about to touch each other, full jump, and then I just deboost, and that usually does a pretty good timing for that. And then we're off to get our space jump. So at this point, like I said, I'm not really that worried about ammo at this point, because you're going to pick up a lot of stuff coming out of this area.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick, and I'm going to swap over real quick while you're, because I can still hear you. Can you just explain the number? Like, you need 4 supers at minimum between the time you exit Dragon to the time that you get to Ridley. Okay. So can you just kind of talk through like where you need those supers, and I'll fix my mic.
So to get to Ridley, you're gonna need a minimum of 4 supers. So let me see if I can remember all of them. There's the toilet shot. So just after you get plasma, you go down the tube, the pipe that takes you all the way down to the bottom of Meridia. That requires 1 super. The next super, there's a green gate that you need to open in order to go down into Norfair. That's 2. If you haven't grabbed ice already, you need to go get ice at this point. That's the 3rd one. There's a green gate there, and or a green door there. And then the final super that you need is at I think it's Wasteland. It's at the end of Wasteland.
Correct.
After you go down the Kazans, which is the spike platforms.
Right.
Just before you get to Ridley, there's another super door that you have to open. So you're gonna need a minimum of 4. It's not very often that you're gonna run out of supers at that time. I've only done it once in a run, and it was because I was just not paying attention.
Yeah, that's the key.
You're gonna run through an area coming up really soon where there's a lot of cack attacks. So
right, and so to what he's saying, just even though it's not really hard to get the supers, you need to at least be aware of what you need. And the reason that we don't say that it's 5, because a lot of times, you want to factor in a super for the boss doors or whatever. The reason you don't really need to factor that into the equation at this point is because you're going to kill 2 metal pirates prior to getting to Ridley's boss door, and you're essentially almost guaranteed to get at least 1 super drop from them. Unless you get like health bombed or something. So like if you have low health. So anyway, you want to be looking for 4, but I really would like to impress upon especially newer runners to maybe try to make sure you at least have 5, because it's not completely unheard of. It's happened to me. It's not completely unheard of to accidentally co-jack somewhere, and then once you get into Lower Norfair, like if you don't have enough to get through the Wasteland Green door, it's really hard to find supers down there. So and plus I like to have a 5th one even when I'm running, because sometimes I accidentally miss the fast toilet bowl strat. Like that one to me is one that it's a lot easier to miss that one than it is to like miss the ice door or something like that. So when you come down here, basically through this room we have cacks that are right here. We'll have 2 down here, and we'll have 1 right over here. So they are like 99.6 or something percent going to drop super. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll skip over this one. Like let's imagine you have 0. You could just kill both of these guys and then grab this 3rd one, and you want to at least get to 4. And then when you come through this room here, you can basically just come straight down and kill this guy. Now, if you really wanted to get an extra one, you could farm this guy. But notice that I already have 4, which is the minimum that I need. Once you enter this room, you can actually just kind of shoot down if you really need some extra stuff. And these guys will also have a chance to drop supers. So you might can pick up 20 health or a super or 2 in this room, and it doesn't take too much time. So once again, traditionally we'll skip this guy. A lot of times if I don't need extra supers, then I will only farm that first one on the ground and try to run straight through to get over here and kill this guy. Because this guy, you're pretty much going to get him because he's in your way.
You'll notice we're skipping a lot of cacks in this situation. We're getting up to the number we need, +1, and there's extra cacks that we're not killing. Even in the first room, I think there's one much higher up that you can get if you really want to make sure that you're not low on supers. There's still at least 3 more cack attacks that you can get supers from. So even if you have the worst luck, and on the 0.5% chance that 4 of those cacks don't drop supers, which is a pretty much impossible chance, even if that happens, you are covered.
Yeah. And so in this room too, it would be very easy. If you're just really looking to farm, it'd be very easy to just fall right here and grab that guy and then shoot this guy right here. So once again, if you don't really need that many supers, probably just want to kill this guy, grab his super, and you can kill this guy and grab his as well. It's also not really a bad idea, technically speaking, especially if you're a newer runner. It's not really a bad idea to grab extras because technically speaking, every super you get from here all the way through the last Metroid room in Torian is going to assist you in some way. Depending on how many drops Ridley gives you, depending on how many supers you get from some bugs and stuff on your way out, if you get really bad luck, you might not have that many, and you don't want to be going into Torian with a super low amount and end up getting soft lock. So anyway, it's never a bad idea to have any. Just be aware of the number that you need to progress. You have to shoot those 4 super doors, and if you don't have a super, you literally just can't get around them or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Can I show a few things about these 2 rooms that we're looking at?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
All right. I'm not certain if I think are both of these rooms just called Cack Alley? Is that correct? I don't know if the second room has a different name or not. I think they're just both called Cack Alley.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyways, it's just the 2 rooms where there's a lot of supers. I was saying earlier, you can be kind of you don't have to worry too much about your missile shots. These cacks either take 2 shots with a wave or a charge shot, but they also just take 1 missile shot. You can be you don't have to worry about your missile shots at all. And I find that I usually get through the rooms faster if I'm hitting them with missiles. So you can if you can either stop right on this first guy, space jump and do a charge shot on the way down, which is what I sometimes will do. If I mistime the space jump at the beginning. If you time your space jump properly, you can actually get over top of this first cack. As I'm coming down, I'll often have a charge shot, and I'll usually fire the charge right as I hit the wall here, an angle down shot. That'll either hit the cack down here or the cack up here. Once I've done that, I'll switch to missiles, and I'll finish off the other cack attack. So something like this, you can fire like that, and then you can get both of them. Usually, if you want to get both, you have to delay just an instant to grab both of them. And then on your, while you're space jumping over here, I stay on missiles, kill the guy with 1 shot. Again, you can do it with 2 shots or a charge shot, but both are, I think it's a little bit faster to do missiles. This next room, there's a couple of ways to get through this room. You can do a kind of a cool deboost. If you just walk into the room and if you press angle down and you fire kind of when Samus's feet hit the water, these cacks are shooting too much. Right when her feet hit the water, you'll usually open this door, and then you can just do a deboost right through. It's about 2 seconds, so it's pretty fast if you want to go through with a deboost like that. The strat that I usually use, I'm usually farming 1 cack in this room, and it's a pretty easy farm. I just run through this door holding charge, And then in the next room, I just release the direction. So I just let Samus kind of run off her own momentum. So I'm not pressing forward. I just let her drop off. And once she's off, I just start down backing. And it puts me right in the perfect position to shoot straight down onto this CAC attack.
Yeah,
so that's what
really
I usually do. And then that gets you through the door pretty quickly. So that's kind of a nice one. I don't think you need to down back. You might be able to get down here without, but I'm not certain on that. You probably can.
Also, what I'm about to say has nothing to do specifically with ammo management, but I think what Moss just showed is something that's really good for newer runners to consider. A lot of the stuff in this game for running strats isn't only what you do in the room itself, it's what you do leading into the room, like charging or entering the door in a certain way. So it's really important to realize that, especially when you're practicing, how to enter the rooms so that you can get the strat that you want. Okay, so...
Al was just asking, if you down back too early, I guess you land on the top ledge. It's the reason that I don't hold forward entering this room. So if I run into the room from the edge, from the previous room, I run in from the edge of the ledge, and I have enough momentum that I don't press forward in this room. I just release forward, and it gives me enough speed to not land on that ledge.
Awesome.
All right. So this is one of the last areas. If you're really low on health, this is the place to start farming. This is one of the last areas to farm properly, pre getting to Norfair, I would say. Like you can farm here forever. Really, it doesn't take that much time, and you could get yourself in theory back up to full health if you want. I don't probably get much high. I get like. If I'm under 100 health, I might farm up to be like 120. That's probably where I feel most comfortable. But I don't find that for the next little while, you're not going to be in too much trouble of taking too much damage. So, you have to kind of weigh it yourself of what you feel comfortable with. But if your health is, under 100, it might be good to stop for a little while and grab some health. You're probably good on supers at this point. And if you're trying for... Plasma Spark, you're going to lose a little health, but so it's kind of a weird thing because like if you want to farm a little health to go for Plasma Spark, you're probably losing all the time that Plasma Spark actually saves.
Right. Yeah.
So there's really no point to try Plasma Spark if you need to farm for health beforehand. So let's keep moving up.
Yeah.
There's some.
So real quick, I want to talk about something. Are you going to show any farming stuff in here?
In this room specifically, no. I don't typically farm in this room.
Okay, so yeah. So not specifically, like we're trying to avoid doing strats in every room. We're just kind of talking about the ammo management portion. So real quick, one thing I want to show everybody is don't forget that once you get plasma and you're on your way out, this room right here that has the little blobs in it is going to be another spot where you can get either some health, usually some regular missiles and power bombs. But don't rely on getting supers here because they technically do have a chance to drop supers, but it's very low. Like, yes. I could do this a bunch of times and, maybe one in maybe 6 or 7 or something like that time I got a super. But most of the time you're not going to get one. So just be aware that you want to try to be having your 4 or 5 supers or whatever it is you feel comfortable with prior, like specifically prior to getting Plasma Beam. Because those little blobs are not going to be, a great source of supers for you. And then I'll let Moss show some things. I'm going to go ahead and head to Ice Beam because when we get there, depending on what route you take out of Ice Beam, you need to have different power bomb or or health situations. So I'm going to show the southern route. Which do you take the northern part?
I've always taken northern. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about that when we get there. I'm just going to go ahead and run down there, and I'll toss it to Moss for a moment here.
Perfect. So if you are pretty low on health at this point going into plasma, you can farm these guys. There is a way to hit all of them. It usually involves taking damage in the first place. Like I would just walk into them, take damage, and then you sort of edge in a little bit closer. Sometimes you can get all of them. You have to position your shot pretty well in order to get all of them. But usually you get a lot of them. They will drop supers sometimes as well. So it is a dice roll on maybe getting supers from them. But if you're really low on health and you're worried about dying in the plasma room, just kneel down and spend a few missiles and just kill them all. All right. There's not much to really say about plasma room. I have not done. I can't remember the last time I did plasma. Like, I'm doing new any percent, and I've been doing low percent ice. So my how to do a successful plasma has been it's been a while. Anyways, that was a terrible plasma, but we'll move on. So yes, on your way back out, you can just drop, like, just crouch, fire one shot. It'll open the door and kill all of those mud things on the ground. And then you're on your way back out. In theory, you could probably farm here in the Cassius room, but I've never done it. It doesn't really help that much. You'll usually get something from this guy. There is a really nice way to farm this pancake, is what I call him. I think it's called a chute, maybe. This is a DBX strat, I think. If you while you're jumping up, if you fire while you're on your way up, you'll hit this guy before he jumps into the air. And then if you run straight, it's kind of a cool thing. If you run straight off holding run the whole way, you won't grab that drop. So I hold run until I'll run until right around here. In between these seaweeds, I'll release run. And that slows you down enough that when you run off, you won't land here. You'll actually clear this platform, but you will grab the drop. So I'll show you that. It's a kind of a nice way to get that free drop. So just run, release, and I grab the drop on the way down. It was a super, so that's nice. This toilet shot is... do not try this toilet shot, this angle shot, if you are if you're down to 4 supers. It's very risky to get this shot. I usually have 5 supers, so I'll try that, and if I miss it, I'll just shoot straight down. I think that's pretty much it. You're gonna have to use another super coming up in the on the green gate. And other than that, there's a couple of enemies that you can farm on the way to the green gate, but you're probably gonna get 3 farms in the next room or so. So you can just stop on a dime, aim down, and shoot this guy, and then angle up and shoot this guy, and you'll get 3 drops there. Pretty simple stuff. So why don't you go ahead, Kipp, and start looking at ice, and I'll just catch up to you.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, I'm exactly where Moss is, and to his point, these crabs have a high chance to drop power bombs, and then if not, they're going to drop major health. So this is a good place for you, especially if you're low on health, to get what you need to feel comfortable with for lower Norfair. But one thing to keep in mind, and I do recommend this for newer runners, there's some back and forth about which one's faster depending on how, perfect your strats are. But if you take the southern route from Ice Beam, one of the advantages, especially if you're new, is that there is a health refill station right before you head into lower Norfair. So if you're like super concerned about your health, you can always take that route and know that you're going to be fine. But otherwise, you come in here. A lot of times I just run straight through and skip this crab. But if for some reason, if I was really low on power bombs, I would kill him and then hope to get a power bomb drop. And then you got this room right here where you got 3 more that you can kill before you head down. So anyway, we're going to head on down to the Ice Beam location. And I'm going to show you sort of what I look for in terms of power bomb management heading into lower Norfair. Technically speaking, when you go to lower Norfair, you need to have a certain amount of power bombs to keep yourself full. And it's funny that, if you're like a top player and for sure that you're going to get fast pillars, then it's not necessarily something that you have to 100% be worried about. But especially if you're new and you feel like, fast pillars is something that you might not get, which actually still happens to, top players sometimes. You want to make sure that you have enough power bombs to be able to power bomb the, what's the room called? It's the pillars room, essentially, where if you don't get fast pillars, you need to get rid of them quickly, and you need to drop 2 power bombs.
I think it's just the pillar room.
Yeah,
right.
So anyway, on the way out of here, I just messed this strat up. What I'm usually trying to do is jump out and get a mock ball, but I'm not really worried about showing like specific strats. It's more about just kind of being aware of the item management part. So in this particular room right here, the southern route, you're going to drop a power bomb, which is going to put you at 4. But I'm just telling you that I, specifically, the way that I run these strats, I want to have 5 before I get to the lower Norfair entrance, okay? So what I need to do is I need to farm one of these little creatures down here. These purple guys have a really high chance of dropping power bombs, as you can see. And so I only need 1. So the strat that I use, which I doubt it's the optimal strat, but essentially I just kind of fall down here and start shooting. And this first guy will give me 1, and I can use my iframes to run through the door. So as you can see, that put me capped back at 5. And let me show you why the southern route, like why I would suggest to somebody to have 5 power bombs. You're going to run through here, and I haven't done any of this stuff in a long time because I don't really run, old route anymore much. But essentially, you can try to maintain your jump speed, which can get you through this room really fast. And then what you're trying to do in this room is usually I try to land over there, and if I time this right, I can shoot and jump and maintain, a quick movement through here. But if you need health, you can just get it right here. So these are definitely rooms to practice if you're going to take the southern route. I think it works pretty well, especially until you get comfortable with lower Norfair. But anyway, let's assume that we get this and we get through. So now let's talk about why you want to have 5 power bombs, okay? Well, in this room, you got to drop 1 power bomb to get through this orange door. So I usually drop it here, and this allows me to get in place for the chronic boost, right? So notice that the way that I did that strat, coming in the southern way, only leaves me with 4 power bombs. So I don't get back to full at this moment. And it's not really going to matter. I'll show you why in a minute. But I like to be full because I want to be entering lower Norfair with 4, and I know I'm going to drop 1. So once again, I drop this power bomb right, on top of that little background thing, get in position, and go. This isn't the only way to run that strat, but it's the easiest way for me to do it consistently. So
I think I taught you that strat, Kipp.
You did, Moss. Yeah, you and Sefi also helped me out with that one. Like he was talking to me about some part of it or whatever. So there's all kinds of strats, especially in lower Norfair, that came directly from you a long time ago. So let me show now why I want to have 4 when I enter this room. All right, so you have to drop a power bomb, like you're forced to drop a power bomb in this room, okay? But the good news is that you are going to get 2 power bombs like 99-point-something% of the time from these guys. Their drop rate for power bombs is like 99.6 or 99.4, and that will...
It's 101.6 out of 102%.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's super high. So anyway, you are hoping, obviously, to get 2, and you're going to get that a vast majority of the time. However, there will randomly sometimes be runs where one of them drops you a small health, and you only have 4 power bombs. The reason that's a problem, and the reason you want to be aware, is because you will literally soft lock yourself or put yourself way behind if you're not aware that you need 5, like at this juncture, if you don't get fast pillars, okay? So what's going to happen is, let's assume that we don't even run the fast pillar strat. So we're going to drop 2 power bombs, and I don't really run this strat, very much anymore, so it's probably not super crisp. But anyway, we're going to drop 2 power bombs to get through this room, which is now going to leave us at 3. We have to have 1 for worst room. So I'll do the best I can here. Here's another Moss strat directly from him training me up a long time ago. So,
I still use this strat.
Yeah.
Well, when I do old any percent, I still use that strat.
Yeah, it's a great one. And so at this point, you have 2 power bombs left. But the key here is that if you only have 2 coming into this room because you used a double strat for a double power bomb strat for the pillars room. The problem is you have to have 2 left because there's an orange door down here, and there's also going to be the wasteland power bomb. So be aware. if you only have 2 power bombs at this exact juncture, you cannot run the strat where you drop a power bomb here because you will run out. Otherwise, you have to get the power bombs of shame. So what you would do instead is you would hold a charge, hold down, drop the, or wait a minute, that's how you do it. Almost. Let's see, you would...
The bomb spread, yeah.
Yeah, you would do the bomb spread and just use normal bombs and then use your power bomb here to get through this door.
That's sort of it.
Yeah, I actually forgot how to do it because I haven't done it in forever.
Yeah, I know. I don't you do it very often either.
So, but anyway, you got this. You get through this room, you got to have your last power bomb. So long story short, regardless of what strat you run or whatever, you just need to be aware of what you need. You definitely don't want to be, especially like in a race situation, you don't want to be in the tournament and accidentally mismanage your ammo and then just be in a really tough position to lose time. The supers is more dangerous. Like if you walk down here and don't have enough supers, it's way more dangerous than if you don't have power bombs. Because if you don't have power bombs, the good news is you can just go over here and, get the power bombs of shame. You're not guaranteed to get drops from those Tuskegee, but it's just something to be aware of. And then once you get to this point, honestly, you don't have to pay too much attention to your ammo. Like, there's some things that can help you out on the way out of Lower Norfair, but they're not nearly as critical as when you get to Torian. So I'm going to turn it back over to Moss, let him show you guys some stuff, and then I'm going to go ahead and move myself to Torian. And that way, when we get there, I can mention some things.
Yeah, so we're back at ice again. We're gonna do the north. I think people just call it the upper and lower route, but Kipp and I got into calling it the northern and southern route because Kipp used to be called Southern Kipp, and he used to do the lower route. So I think I named it the southern route because of that. So it's just what we call it now. It's the southern route. One thing to notice is that these enemies right here, you're going to pass them twice. You're going to pass them when you go in to get ice and when you come back out. This is pretty much the last enemy that has a chance of dropping supers until you get pretty far into Lower Norfair. So if you don't have one super at this point, you definitely want to farm these guys. They may not drop supers, but it's something to remember. So if I'm completely out of supers, like desperate for supers, I'll definitely kill all of them on the way in, and I'll kill all of them on the way out. It's only once happened to me that I didn't have enough supers to get through Norfair, and that's because I didn't get a super drop here, and I assumed that I would be able to pick up a super somewhere else. But you can't. There's really very, very small chance of getting a super past this point. So if you're at 0 supers, farm here. If you don't get a super from these people, go back in and farm again. That's what I would advise. Okay, so if you're doing the top route, the way I like to do it, I actually come all the way back to here. There is a faster way if you just run from right here. But this is a lot more consistent for me. I just run straight from those little I use the tiles on the floor as reference, and then the way I come out of this room is I do 3 space jumps and shoot the door and morph. It is pretty tricky. It just takes a lot of time to get used to it, but if you want, you can do something like this. Maybe this, something like that to get out. There are ways to get out if you are really hell-bent on doing the northern route. You can just freeze these guys and get out like this. I generally would always do northern route. It's what I feel more comfortable with. I always felt like I would make some mistakes in the southern route. So this is the way I like to go. So, my dog wants to come in. 1 second, everybody. Come on, buddy. Good boy. That's Winston. Hello. Okay. All right. All right. Go away. Okay, so we're on our way down. I guess you can get supers from these guys also if you're really low. Same enemies. Also, Jet's dropping down to farm the room before Bubble Mountain. Oh, that's true. You could farm there too. That's a very good point, Elminster. Okay. So, northern route. These enemies, we've talked about it before. If you want power bombs, they do have a very high chance of dropping. If you look below my my webcam, you'll see all the enemies that have a 99% chance of dropping power bombs. We mentioned a couple of them already. The small Desgigas, which Kipp mentioned in the southern route, they have a 99% of dropping. And the Violas, which are the enemies that you get. There's 2 of them in the room before fast pillars. Those are both enemies that you're pretty much guaranteed power bombs from. If you're really low, you can just turn around and farm these guys and continue on. But hopefully you won't be that low. There are faster ways to get through this room. So I really recommend learning how to do Chronic Boost. I love Chronic Boost. It's very fast, and it really does not require... It requires very little health. It requires, like, what, 5 health maybe? Maybe even 2 health. I can't remember exactly. There's a really, really easy way to do it. So if you just come down and ball through this whole room, firstly, you can get power bombs from all of these guys. I think you can get maximum of 4 from this room. If you just stay in ball, and you bounce off of this platform right here on the way down, you bounce, and then once you bounce, you hold left. It'll put you in the perfect location to drop a bomb. I use this in the background here. It looks kind of like a parentheses. I use that as the reference. I drop a power bomb right at the top of that. Kipp comes in from this side, and he drops a power bomb in the exact same location. So it's a really easy way of doing setting up the Chronic Boost. Just come in and ball, bounce, lay the bomb, and then continue your way down. So, bounce, lay a bomb. And then the position for this is it takes a little time to get used to. I just put my heel up. I use the parentheses here as well. I just put my heel up against the parentheses, and that sort of works well. One thing that I kind of do here is I unmorph with jump. So I unmorph and hold jump. So I'm already holding jump at this point. That way, I don't have to press it again to jump up and do a deboost off this guy. I just stand here while holding jump. So while I'm unmorphing on the way down, I hold jump. And I'm continuing to hold jump for the rest of this room. I also hold angle here because you're going to push left to do the deboost. If you mistime it, if you're not holding angle, you're going to spin jump away. But if you're holding jump and angle, when I turn around, I don't go flying. So it's just a really good way to set yourself up. Hold jump, angle, and you can kind of edge yourself to the right position and boost off. It's in some ways a health management strat because it's less damage than the Nalmahaze in the next room. Man, I can't do it tonight. I haven't done this strat in a long time. I'm just too early. Okay. So at this point, I'm at 4 power bombs. That's perfectly fine. You are going to get 2 more. And I'm generally expecting to land fast pillars. You want to, going into lower Norfair, you want to have what your main power bomb strategy is and what your backup power bomb strategy is. The backup, in fact, might be the faster strat. If you're more likely to not get fast pillars, then your main strategy should be bomb spreading on the way down, as Kipp showed. If you're more likely to get fast pillars, you're going to be using the power bomb in that room instead.
Hey,
so
Moss.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that real quick?
Sure.
All right. So, and I didn't ask Moss about this, and maybe he would disagree, but let me explain something that is unrelated to ammo management, but I guess sort of related. It's about the fast pillar strat. I would highly, highly recommend that if you are going to try the fast pillar strat, that you learn it like the sort of quote-unquote more difficult way from the beginning, where you do not go to the left room and try to get a spark over there.
Absolutely.
Just try to do it the natural way. Then if you don't get it, then you just straight up go to the backup with the power bombs. Going all the way to the left and getting a spark, like loading the next room, reloading the previous room, getting the spark, and then sparking over is actually still equal to the power bombs. And and there's still technically a chance that you can mess it up and miss. Even though you have way more leeway, it's not like it's 100% guaranteed. So if you're a newer runner and you're looking to do fast pillars, try to learn it the correct way first. And if it's too hard, don't even attempt the other method. Just get used to doing the power bombs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point, Kipp. So there is a couple of health management strats that you can use here. If you're like pretty low on health at this point, there's a couple of strats that you can do. The first one is it's pretty tricky, but it's a little slower. It's probably about 2 seconds slower, but it reduces a lot of lag in the following room, so it might actually end up not being that much slower. So in the standard way is to just run space jump through this room, shoot the door, and mock ball through. If you do essentially the same thing, but you start a little bit further back, if you run back to this pillar and you do like a 2-tap, I think it's 2-tap, 1, 2. Yeah, you'll have blue suit at this point. And then you can do the room the same way. And if you can mock ball through in blue suit, you can kind of kill these guys using a blue suit keep. It's a really, it looks super swag. If you can land the mock ball, this room is actually not too hard to, it's actually one of the easiest places to do a blue suit keep, I found, because you have the door transition to sort of set it up. So if you are in blue suit and you come through this room in a mock ball, I come into this room, I'm already holding angle up. So I'm entering the room holding angle up, and I hold right. As soon as I enter the room, I hit the power bomb, and so lay the power bomb. And after I roll through this first space pirate, I continue to hold the angle button, and I just roll my hand up. I did a little too late there, but still a little too late. And so I'm just holding angle at this point, and I can keep my blue suit. It's kind of cool. These guys have a pretty good chance of dropping health, and it reduces a lot of lag. Like let's compare the lag of this room. It's pretty laggy. But if you do this strat, it's really not laggy at all. So that's kind of a cool way of doing that strat. If I'm low on health, that's the way I'll try it. I really like that strat. Okay, so there is another way to save health in this room. If you're going for fast pillars, if you're consistent at getting fast pillars or some semi-consistent, you can also do a blue suit like space jump through this room. So you set up the same way that you would do fast pillars. So you do like a stutter 3 or whatever you do. I think that was fine. And then you just jump at the edge of the platform, and you just space jump through. Now, the one thing about this, it saves health. So if I'm low on health, this is the way I will do it. I will go through this room. One thing to note, though, is that you want to shoot this door as close to the door as possible. Because if you don't, the shot creates a lot of lag. It really, I'll shoot really early. Like, you see how laggy that was? I was a little too early, but it was super laggy. So I just shoot right at the door. I like to mock ball through the last one, but that's it's not necessary. Oh, I need to set up power bombs. I'm just going to reset with power bombs. So those are 2 rooms that if you're low on health, they are pretty advanced strats, but they're kind of cool ones to start looking at. I do the same strat that Kipp showed before. Oh man, I am not used to doing this strat with moonwalk on though. That totally threw me at that moment. I have to turn before I land now. Okay. We're learning something new tonight. And I don't know if there's really any other ammo management strats I do for the next little area that I can think of. One thing that I will do is when I'm space jumping through this next room, this is the time where I will turn off power bombs. Somewhere around here, I'll turn off power bombs if I did not land fast pillars. I'm used to landing fast pillars most of the time, and there's so many runs where if I've missed fast pillars, I end up having to reset because I forgot that I missed fast pillars and I waste a power bomb. So if you miss fast pillars, I just shut off power bombs now, and that kind of helps me to not go into default mode of just using power bombs for the next area. So that's kind of something that I do. Usually in this room while I'm space jumping, I'll turn off power bombs if I miss fast pillars. it's just a really good way of mentally reminding yourself not to do that strat. Because like I said, it's really easy to default into what your standard strat is. So I think that's pretty much it. There's obviously a lot of farming that you can do at the end of the just before Ridley. You can farm a lot. Really good chance to get supers, really good chance to get power bombs. Anything else to add to that, Kipp, pre-Ridley?
No, not really. The only thing, which I'm sure you'll cover in a moment, is I actually pay more attention to power bombs than supers post Ridley before we get out of Lower Norfair.
I do as well, yes.
Yeah, just because depending on how many I get from Ridley,
oops, that's bad.
It changes sort of some of the room strats that I use.
Yeah.
So, but you can go ahead and cover that.
So these guys have a really good chance of dropping supers and health. So this is a really good place to, you have to kill these guys anyways, so it's a good place to farm. And I guess you could farm here if you wanted. These Holtzes do quite a lot of damage though, so I just avoid them, and I always just run through the. It's probably gonna be slow to go through without running in the lava, and you're probably, if you take one hit from a Holtz, you're probably going to lose as much health as you would if you just ran through the lava. So this is kind of the standard farming, this is the kind of the standard farming location. So you can, farm as much as you need to be, happy here. I generally, in old route, just don't farm at all for the most part. There's very few situations where I would farm. And then, man, now that we have plasma again, it's like fighting Ridley with plasma. I haven't done this in a long time. It's like I've been doing new route and low percent ice, so it's pretty easy to fight Ridley with plasma on. So let me just kill Ridley, and then if you want to move on, Kipp, you can talk about post Ridley maybe.
I'm sort of at the point right now where I'm moving to Torian. Okay. So we've got about 17 minutes left, which is plenty of time to cover everything. But in particular, sure, I really have to unfortunately wrap it up on time tonight because I have this big thing tomorrow I have to do at work that I have to prep more for. But basically, what Moss is going to show here in a second is probably something to the effect of you got to make sure that you have, at minimum 2 power bombs from Ridley through exit, because you need one obviously for Wasteland and then you need another one for Bubble Mountain. But depending on how many you have or how many you need, those Seahorse guys drop them. You can, if you get health bombed by Ridley for some reason, you can farm the Violas in this room post Ridley that he's in right now. So just be aware. Again, ammo management is something that it's like there's no specific answer to all situations. You just have to know your minimum and then adjust from there.
That's right. I used to do a strat where I would just get both of these guys. I can't remember it now. Oh, actually, let me think of it. Where I would do something like this, I think. Oh, I know. Now I remember. Hopefully. Where I would do something like, maybe not. I don't know. I had a strat where I would missile this guy on the way up, and then I would come down and shoot this one here, and I would grab both of them. I can't remember it now at this point, but yes, there is lots of power bombs at this point. I usually try to get 2 is good. I'll usually want 3, but there's a lot of places to grab power bombs coming up. If you're really low on health, you can kill these guys again. It doesn't take that much time. You can run through the first one and just kill this second one. It's really easy to kill them, and they drop a lot of health. So that's a really good place if you're really down on health. Good place to go. So the big thing, like Kipp was saying, is power bombs. There are a couple of enemies coming up. The Seahorses in particular that you can get power bombs from. So there's a couple of places where you're going to get power bombs from these Seahorses.
Yeah, and also just in advance, since you're getting there, we mentioned the 2 power bomb minimum, but you also can drop a power bomb on the way out of like in the key hunter room, like post wasteland, if you want to.
Yes, that's
and then
what I usually do.
secondly, I actually don't think that it's the most optimal strat, but it's definitely the easiest strat. Once you escape Lower Norfair and the music changes, once you get past the Three Musketeers here in a second, that room with the double pillars in it is really easy. Like, especially if you're a beginner, it's really easy to get through that room with a power bomb as opposed to the bombs. So if I have an extra power bomb there, I always use it.
Yeah, if I'm at 0 power bombs for some reason, I will. This is the place to farm. Like, you need a power 2 rooms forward. So these guys always drop power bombs. There's 3 of them, so you can get power bombs pretty easy from them. And you're gonna see. I usually don't farm them because usually I'll have at least 1 power bomb at this point. Ooh, that was a space jump. Ooh, man. Yeah, so this room is this is where you're going to need your power bombs, of course. But in this room, there's also more seahorses. So you need 1 more power bomb at this point. So if you're at 0, you would stop and farm a seahorse down here. I generally like to have 2. Just for the way that I run Turian, I really like to have 2 at this point. One of them I'm not going to use. But the other one, I'm going to use 1 here. I like leaving this room with 1 power bomb. It just has to do with my the way I do a weird piano grip, like a very unusual piano grip for doing the first room of Turian. And you're probably going to pick up power bombs in that room, but it just sort of changes my item selection through all of that area. Like having to adjust that having no power bombs, I can do it, but it also, there's a chance of picking up power bombs from the Super Metro or from the Metroids. So going in with the strat of no power bombs and then midway through a room picking up a power bomb and having to change your strat on the fly it's just not for me. So I always grab a power bomb there. I think that's about it.
Yeah. All right. So do you mind if I take it from there and talk about Torian for a minute?
Definitely.
Okay, and we'll cut back to Moss in a minute and let him talk about some things. But what I want to do real quick is just I want to talk about a philosophical thing that I think is very, very important. I've actually discussed this at length multiple times when people come into my channel. Sometimes when I'm practicing, they ask me questions and talk about touring and stuff. And this isn't really about strats. I'm not going to sit here and show a bunch of Metroid strats. In fact, mine they're okay, but they're not like, top tier or anything like that in terms of the rooms. But what you need to be aware of is if you're doing old route, and specifically if you're doing 20 regular missiles and 10 supers, which is the most sort of common run for old route, you need to be aware of what you need very specifically to get past Mother Brain 1. Because Mother Brain 1 is a place where you can soft lock and you lose your entire run. And so, in theory, if, some people say, well, you need to be going for the fastest strat possible in every single room, and then, if it doesn't work out, then you try again. I don't really buy into that philosophy super hardcore. I mean, I get it in theory, it's great, but I also think you need to be aware of how to adjust to finish your run. Because I think finishing a run is more important than just going for like saving 1 or 2 seconds or something like that, especially in a run that's this fast, or excuse me, that's this long. It's not like Super Metroid any percent is a 10-minute run. It's a 40-something minute run, 50-something minute run, depending on your time. So the thing that people need to be aware of is your regular missiles do 100 damage, and so I'm just going to call those like 1. All right, they're worth 1 each, and your super missiles do 300. So they're worth 3 each. So you need to have at least full regular missiles and 9 supers after the 4th Metroid room if you want to be able to skip Baby Metroid, not refill, and make it to Mother Brain. Now, technically, I think you could do it with like 18 regular missiles, but generally speaking, I don't think I've ever, in old route, exited the 4th room without 20 regular missiles. I guess technically it could happen, but I've never seen it.
It's not likely.
It's incredibly unlikely, right? So,
Yes.
so let's talk real quick. Like, when I enter this first room, I don't have that many supers, and I'm gonna run my normal strats in here, and then I'm gonna figure out where I am about halfway through the room. Like right now, I still have enough to fire a super at this guy and collect some, and at here I'm still gonna collect. Now let's imagine this is my actual scenario, okay? 20 and 2. That isn't good. I only have 3 rooms left, and in particular, I want to try to use 1 super per Metroid in the 3rd room. So what I'm going to do is, in this particular room, I'm going to go ahead and elect to use regular missiles, okay? I happen to get 3 drops, so I'm in a little bit better of a situation. So here, I'm going to kill the first guy. Notice that after killing him, I got up to 6. Well, that would be my cue to go ahead and fire again. And now I got 7. I'm gonna and so I'm watching, right? Like I'm expecting to get at least maybe 2 to 3 super drops in the last room. Sometimes you don't always get it, but I at least want to get something. But if I fire here and like don't get anything, then at this point I'm just gonna start biting the bullet and firing regular missiles so that I can guarantee, myself a much higher likelihood of finishing the run. So let's say we enter this room with 7. You're trying to collect. Technically speaking, most of the time you would probably be okay to fire a super here and just continue as fast as possible, but I almost never do. If I'm not at full supers at this point, I almost always use regular missiles here because it only takes like, I don't know, an extra half second or second or something like that, and I want to guarantee myself a chance to not get screwed. Every single runner has lost a run from soft locking, from not having missiles, and to be honest with you, the vast majority of runners that I see from like 50 through hour 5, hour 10 minutes, it's usually their own fault. Meaning like it's not usually that the game screwed them. It's that they elected not to adjust and use regular missiles at specific times to give themselves the highest likelihood of getting a super. So now I'm going to run to Mother Brain real quick, and I'm going to talk you through the math. I've actually had mentioned this multiple times on Discord, and Elm actually, funny thing is I think a large majority of the interactions that Elm and I have had on the Discord when helping people with questions is like this specific question about Mother Brain 1. Mm-hmm. So let's go through here real quick and talk about what do you need.
While you head there, I want to talk a little bit about some important stuff about Metroid drops.
Okay. I'll toss it right back over to you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I put in a link to the Metroid drops and how drops work, which are really important things to understand. So for Metroids, usually the biggest issue in Turian is having enough supers. Most of the time, that's the problem. I've not really been in a situation where I don't have enough, sometimes enough health. I mean, maybe, but usually it's that you don't have enough supers. Super missiles from Metroids, it's a 20% chance to drop super missiles. So the thing that's really important to understand is that there are 2 tiers of weapon drops, or of drops. There's a tier 1 and a tier 2. Now, tier 1 is missiles, large energy, and small energy. That's tier 1. And then tier 2 is power bombs and super missiles. And this is really important because we've talked before about if you are full on health and you kill an enemy that can drop health, the percent chance that that enemy will drop health will be added to missiles then. So as an example, the Metroid has a 20% chance of dropping big energy and a 10% chance of dropping small energy and a 36% chance of dropping a missile. So if you're full on health and you kill a Metroid, the 10% and the 20% is essentially just put that 30% of energy drop is put onto missiles. So it's like a 66% chance of dropping missiles at that point. So if you're on full health, your chances of getting missiles is increased a lot. If you're full on missiles, your chances of dropping health are increased. The caveat to this is that super missiles are a tier 2 item, and there is no way to increase the odds of a tier 2 item coming out. So if you're full on health, the drop chance for super missiles stays at 20%. So you can't manipulate, like if you try to use missiles in order to manipulate, or if you're full on missile and you think I'll shoot a super at this guy because the missile drop rate will be pushed to supers and I'll be more likely to drop supers, that's not the case. So at the end, if you're full on missiles, use missiles on the Metroids, because you don't want to waste a super and then not pick it back up. So in other words, like use your missiles. There's a very good chance you're going to replenish your missiles. There's not a 20% chance that you'll drop a Metroid will drop a super. A Metroid drops like 4 or 5 drops, so there is a good chance that it'll drop a super, or multiple supers. And in the last room there are 3 Metroids, so that's like 10 to 15 drops from those 3 guys. But it happens. It has happened many times where you don't get a super drop from them. So if you're at 9 supers, which is the minimum number of supers in the to get through to the end, if you're at 9 supers in the last room, don't use a super on the final Metroids. Just use your missiles, and that way, even if you don't get a super drop from them, you're probably going to be filled on missiles, and you can make it to the end. It's very, very important to understand, though.
Yeah, thank you, Moss. That's very, very important information. Sometimes people just kind of feel things out. Other times, though, I think like it's really important to understand like why certain things work, because then you can protect yourself.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, so let me talk about something real quick, and I'm going to explain this from the perspective of your traditional old route circumstance, okay? Because technically speaking, there are some technicalities here that would only apply in like randos or something like that. So what I want to talk about is, what does it take for you to trigger Mother Brain 1, okay? To go, to be defeated and go into Mother Brain 2. How can you stop yourself from soft locking? So I'm going to type it in the chat, and this is just the most generic way of thinking about it. It's technically more complex than this, but I'm going to type it in the chat. What you need is 6 projectiles to break the glass, okay? And then you need 3,000 damage on Mother Brain 1's head. But in addition, you need basically 12 projectiles to land on Mother Brain 1, or 18 total. It's very confusing, but let me explain how it looks, okay? So notice here, when I say projectile, it takes 6 to break this glass. 3, 4, 5, 6. And now at this point, we can hit her, right? But notice if I fired supers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They didn't do any extra damage. So the glass isn't about a damage value. It's about like literal number of projectiles value, okay? And so, yeah, and what Insane Firebat is saying is exactly the point I was going to make, which is it's not just 3,000 damage, because watch what happens if I shoot and connect with 10 supers, which are worth 300 each, right? So 10 of these will get you to the 3,000 damage threshold. The problem is it won't get you to the 18 total projectiles threshold. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look at that. We have done 3,000 damage to Mother Brain 1, and yet she has not triggered yet. Now, you're never going to have 10 supers walking into this room, pretty much, anyway, so it's not really overly relevant in terms of, you're not going to run into this specific situation, but I just want people to understand how it works. You still need 2 more projectiles. And the funny thing is since we already have the 3,000 damage, it actually doesn't even matter where they hit. They can hit the glass, I think, and still trigger. So, 1, 2. And look, there it triggered. Okay? So, interestingly enough, you got to have 18 total projectiles hit the glass or Mother Brain, and you got to have 3,000 damage. So in an old route run, the most traditional thing you're going to see, you're going to probably have 7 supers or 6 in this room, depending on if you entered with 9 or 10 from the Metroid rooms, because you're going to use a super on the red door following Baby Metroid, the boss door, and the red door leading into this room. You definitely want to use supers on those unless you're unless you have less than 9 and you have to backtrack to refill. You want to always use supers on those because not only is it faster, it's technically more efficient because it would take 500 damage worth of regular missiles to open a red door as opposed to 300 from a super. So here you're going to fire 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Usually I unload my supers after that, okay? And obviously you don't want to get sniped or anything. But at this point, we have 7 times 3 is 21. So we have 2,100 damage. So I need 9 more missiles. We have 2,100 damage, and I guess we need 9 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should get us the appropriate amount of supers, and like in terms of damage and the amount of projectiles. So just be aware, like let's imagine I only had 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I want to unload the rest of my regular missiles. And I had 2 left. So long story short, technically the most optimal thing I guess that you could do would be, like in a perfect world, you would have 9 supers and 3 regular missiles, which would get you to 3,000 damage and 12 projectiles post the 6 that it takes to break the glass. But this is a situation, and I'll let Moss kind of finish up our discussion. I just want to say again, like this is a situation that you can proactively manage and avoid soft locking yourself.
Yeah.
If you know what you need. And technically, let's imagine you're in a scenario where you're in a tournament or a race, and it's not even just about the fastest time for you personally, like trying to get a PB. Let's say you enter and you don't have enough supers to like get past Mother Brain 1 naturally. Well, you might have to open a few doors, backtrack and refill your regular missiles, and then come in here. But you need to be aware of what those numbers are, because once you get the Zeb skip, you're pretty much locked in. And you don't want to realize after Zeb skip that you're screwed. I mean, technically you could get back out, but it's just a lot harder once you're in that position. So just be aware of the counts that you need and why Mother Brain triggers. Realize it's the projectiles and the combination with the damage. And Moss, I will turn it to you. You can have the closing word and talk about whatever you like for the rest of the time.
Great. So the only thing left is talking about trying to avoid getting sniped is a big deal. If you come in at 20 and if you come in at 20 missiles and 6 power supers, which means you left the 4th Metroid room, the last room where you get supers. If you leave that room at 20 and 9, which is the minimum that you can leave the room with, I guess technically 18 and 9 is the minimum. If you miss if one super gets sniped, you have lost your run. So no matter what, you want to make sure your supers don't get sniped. If you're at 20 and 10, it doesn't matter as much because you're more than likely not going to get sniped twice with the supers. But what I usually do is, so I come into this area. Let me just save right here. Okay, so when I come over here, I freeze all of these guys. And then I switch to missiles to start shooting this glass. Once the glass is open, generally I'll switch to supers right away and start hammering the supers in. But I'm looking at this turret when I open the glass. I'm looking at that turret and also kind of the turret to the right. If the turret is sort of positioned in the angle position, so the shot that can snipe you, I don't switch to supers right away. I'll stay on missiles. So I'll start shooting, and if it's in the wrong position, I'll keep shooting missiles. Because if the turret does shoot and snipe a missile, you can actually have 2 missiles sniped and finish. So if I notice that the turrets are set up to possibly snipe, I will keep firing missiles. Once it's fired, it's shot, I'll then switch over to supers and finish off the Mother Brain 1 fight. But it's just a good thing to kind of be aware of. You don't necessarily, it's not always safest to switch to supers right away after breaking the glass. In this case, I noticed that the turrets were pointing to the, like, angling to the right, so I know that, like, that was the window. Like, if I know that the turrets are not going to be shooting for a while, that's the time when I'm switching to supers. Like, I'm going to make sure that when they're not pointing in the sniping position, I'm on supers. And that's kind of something that I use a lot in these in this category. So I might even switch back to super, to power, to missiles, to if the turret's in the sniping position. You know, you also, if you're on supers and potentially the turrets are going to snipe it, you know, you just have to watch out and hold off your shots. So I'll switch to supers right now because they're not pointing at me, and then I'll just missile off to finish off the rest of the game. Okay, I think that's basically it, though. There's nothing else. Ooh, I soft locked. I guess I must have reloaded right after the mother brain thing. We'll end on a crash. That's perfect.
So I'm going to put it back on my screen for a minute. Moss, thank you so much, dude. Yeah. Excellent stuff as always. And again, I just want to really sincerely congratulate you. Like, you know, obviously your times are already good, but getting a 44 80% is like a dream, you know, obviously for a lot of people. It's something I would really like to do one day. So congratulations,
was for me, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's great. Now I can finally bring this reverse boss order time down. That's the next thing. I'm going to make a statement by next week. I'm going to try to shave 1 hour off of my reverse boss order time.
I'm sure you will.
I'm at 2:16 or something like that. I'm going to try to be at 1:16.
I'm sure you will.
Next Strat Chat, so in 2 weeks.
The only thing I will warn you about is I, in particular, remember seeing some discussion. Either I saw some on Discord and then some on in people's channels after I was done getting my RBO PB about how you know, technically it's probably the category of the 4 that's easiest to get a top time in because it's just not as competitive. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that none of the individual things that you have to do in RBO are really that bad. It's just that in lower Norfair, if you're running with low E-tanks, you literally can't mess up. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, you in another category, you don't even think twice about accidentally missing a strat because you're like, oh, that sucks, I lost a second. Well, in RBO, it's like, yeah, guess what? You just lost your whole run. So yeah. I'm sure you'll do fine, but just get mentally prepared for the accidental frustration from time to time.
Yeah, I know. I've been running a new route. I'm all about frustration at this point.
So, I can imagine. So anyway, guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out. A huge thank you again to Elminster for coming in and talking with us. Make sure to check him out. You know, I can't imagine anybody in here doesn't already follow him, but if you don't, go follow him, check him out. He's doing all kinds of runs, and you'll see him in the upcoming, not 80%, but multi-category tournament. Moss, excellent job, man. Thank you so much. Anything you'd like to close with?
Yeah, it's always great, man. I'll see you in 2 weeks, huh?
No doubt. So we'll talk and we'll get some things sorted out to have a good episode next time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut stream there for the night. That's the entire Strat Chat. I actually have some for real IRL work that I need to work on tonight for tomorrow. So I will see everybody later this weekend. And Moss, have a good one, bud.
All right. Bye, guys.